Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Dead Space 3. Let's continue. We're doing the Awakened DLC. We've got a crazy unitologist just cycling here. We can't shoot him. We're back in our old suit because we beat the game on normal. The Necromorphs are hungry and the other moons are awoken. And so we're trying to get into a ship that the unitologists have a bunch of ships. We're trying to get back to Earth to warn Earth that the Necromorphs are coming and that they are hungry, or that the moons are coming. Seemingly there won't be any more scavenger bots in the game. Even when you stomp on these things, the items tend to jump around in the wrong direction. This level design, where it's the giant tentacle monster of the moon all over, and there's these protuberances of glowing rock, feel similar to the idea that at some point the whole game, like, you may have had to run through the entire world that you had run through before. Now more. With my stasis code, and killing these guys is like super easy. And those were the super fast Necromorphs, and they're just chump change. The only thing is my guns are now firing fast enough that I can lose a decent amount of speed and a decent amount of bullets trying to take these guys out instead of possibly just taking it a bit slower. But it doesn't seem like it's going to really matter because they seem more than willing to give you enough bullets. I'm in this weird position where I can potentially have my gun do maximum damage, or I can make it fire faster, and I prefer firing faster. This is a nice scene. This is a great example of where these elevators should have been used a lot more, and they just were not. We lost one ship there.
Carver! Ships! You see them? They're taking off. There's not gonna be any left. Head towards the ships. Hurry!
See, what would be funny is if the character you're playing as, Isaac, is actually the moon, and you're telling Carver, you're giving Carver all these instructions, which Carver is the military guy. There's really not a good reason why Carver would be listening to Isaac, other than you just have to assume that Carver has given authority over to Isaac, since he is apparently the only successful marker killer to exist. It does also kind of feel like we are turning around in circles to always be pointed at this moon. There's a lot of these checkpoint middle sections, which I'm starting to wonder if that means that this is just an infinite loop nightmare of... Let's see. Here we've got text. Pause now if you want to read it. From EarthGov, which... That's interesting that's from EarthGov, because EarthGov should not have existed at this point. And see, I don't know if we're gonna... Can't shoot this guy. Like you can just steal his resources. And
They are hungry. They are coming. They are hungry.
and just walk through there. I was kind of expecting to see a hallucination sequence. Alright, well,
Ah, shit!
so the snowstorm concept here is a cool idea. It's a shame that they never did it before this point. Oh man, I didn't even see that. Yeah. Let's go and heal. So did we come out of this door? Yeah, we did. Like all of a sudden, the idea of these headbutt creatures in the snowstorm makes a lot more sense, and it's really a shame that that is just not something that was in the game up until this point. There was plenty of points where you could have expected snowstorms and enemies to attack in the snowstorms, and it just didn't happen. I'm just shooting these guys until they drop their item. This is a circuit. How do I get that circuit? What? I think it's a circuit. Everything blinking purple up until this point has been a circuit. I guess maybe that's just a purple blinking light. That seems kind of unfair. Let's see if we can maybe get up a little bit higher. No, that was definitely an upgrade circuit. Remember, there was this whole thing where you could shoot out lights at some point too, and apparently I just did that. Jeez, I wonder how many little secrets might be lying around in this area. So we're just still messing with I think that's dead. Messing with trying to find everything and trying to see everything. This is like the one sequence where you really are encouraged to take your time and look around because of the snow, which, yeah, that may have had us play more in the overworld if there had been more sequences like that. And see, I don't know
Crap, there goes another one. We're gonna get
if
stranded down here.
It was closer.
the idea was
There might be more
wouldn't be to
nearby.
go back and check this again now that the snowstorm is gone, but also wouldn't be surprised if the snowstorm just reappears as soon as you go down that area. We'll go ahead and use a couple of small health kits. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of linearity to this, though. Like, we still are not really seeing big modern open world sections or multiple path sections or anything like that.
Can anyone hear me? My co-pilot just threw himself into the engine and ground the turbine to a halt. Everyone is losing their minds. I can see other ships taking off. Why won't anyone respond? If anyone can hear me, we're on the roof of the vehicle depot in the command center courtyard.
So we can take that picture. That ship, interesting picture here. Seems like they just snuck that in. Interesting 3D models that don't seem like they're gonna be anything. Seems like what we're gonna do is end up going in circles through this old scarf facility. That gimmick has already been done, so did this guy kill himself? We are going through a level that is clearly just a level that we've already been through. But now all of a sudden we're getting these EarthGov unitologist dialogues. Pause now if you want to read this. Pause now if you want to read the rest of this. So you would think you would just be able to shoot these guys. We've been in these rooms before, so this is just, I guess, another opportunity to refill resources. Which sometimes you really just get a very bad experience there. Like, I'll be interested to see if we see any lockers with orange, because the orange in the original game indicated that that was something that you would unlock later or at a new game plus or something like that. And I imagine on this DLC we're not coming back through this area. Notice these guys don't seem to drop anything. We never really got any idea as far as who these photos are supposed to represent. And really all they're doing is giving you a bench so that you can use it to craft a torque engine. So I could replace this with a 3 damage 3 clip, which we now have. But I don't think that's really what I want to do, because that rate of fire is really what I'm looking for. But I could replace maybe this gun with the 3 damage, 3 clip. I don't know if I really need to. I'd just increase our damage slightly, and it really wouldn't increase our clip size any. Like, I could potentially replace this with 3 damage, 3 clip, but then there's kind of no reason to do that either. So we'll just make a tungsten torque bar. We'll sell this. I think we'll put this away. And I think at this point we probably should put away a couple of these. And there's kind of nothing else to do.
They're hungry.
Carver, it's not just us. Everyone is going insane.
Oh, good. Any ships yet?
Maybe. Can you get to the vehicle depot? The one at the command center?
Yeah, I'm almost there now. Hey, I see it! Isaac, there's a ship! Isaac! Up here!
Boss fight time? Maybe? Like, is there really a reason to cautiously look around here? There was this whole section, I suppose, come to think of it, that we had this whole optional mission to go, I think, inside.
Oh shit! Not again!
I guess the question really comes down to if Isaac is hallucinating.
Hey! Didn't you hear me?
What? I was just being attacked.
You've been standing there doing nothing. I said the ship needs fuel. Hit the switch on the big tank down there.
So I said that apparently the events in the co-op created this scenario where one player was seeing different things. I wonder now if the co-op people have been talking about was actually this DLC only, because that is definitely what's happening now. Is well, there's an orange locker, and here we have a thing. It certainly would make a lot more sense just as a game director to say we'll make a DLC section with 3 small chapters where co-op players see completely different things than we would make the entirety of the game a different experience depending on whether or not you're the co-op partner or the or Isaac. Like, inherently, just percentage-wise, you're going to run into a much higher percentage of players that see Isaac's story if it is a different story, because of the fact that a lot of people are going to play single player. Let's just smack these guys around. You have to kill them, and I think they may very well be able to kill you, so I suspect what this probably does is also just read your resources and reset them after the fact. Notice the ladder is missing too. If it's not reading your resources, it is then wearing down your resources, definitely. But I don't think that's a real issue. Hopefully I didn't have to turn on vertical sync to climb this ladder. Yeah, it definitely does make it seem like Isaac is losing it. And I guess this is slightly different area than where we had been before.
Of course. Here, it's just a little. Oh no.
Oh no, what?
The shock drive on this thing is out. It's only got impulse.
So we're stuck.
Just stuck on this star system. We can make it as far as the flotilla. We'll just have to find something up there to play with. We'll make it home. Don't worry.
Worry? I don't know if I'm dead or alive. What's the worry?
So, we just got an achievement called Get to the Chopper. Very old reference, even 7 years ago. Smart move, I think. Get off the planet, get back to trying to be more like the first Dead Space game. Notice that they also aren't showing us a long, prolonged cutscene.
I'm reading one of Unitologist's transponders. It's coming from the cradle.
What happened to the other ships?
One up in the minefield, I guess. Keep scanning for ships that are intact. I'm gonna have a look at this one. Wow. Looks pretty messed up.
Does it have a shock point drop?
No. It's been gutted.
Gutted? What the hell for?
Maybe they took it onto the Terra Nova. I'm gonna head in.
Yeah, okay. You check the bridge. I'll poke around in engineering.
So now that was a much quicker experience to get into space than it was to get out of space. And they definitely are not trying to have you fly around in a space debris field. They want you just to land and get on the ship, which I am more than happy to do that. We have that whopping sound of a scavenger bot. Orient ourselves. Lock down. Go ahead and recharge our air, even though that's not really a big deal. Go ahead and put a scavenger bot down. Pilot Chuck and Terra Nova tram system. So we're back on the spaceship now, which is much more interesting and closer to the original game.
Hello? If anyone out there is still sane, you have to finish the plan. We thought we could use the ship's reactor to power our shock point drive, but they've taken it to the conning tower at mid-station and locked me out! If you can get to the bridge, there should be a way to defeat the lockdown, but you'll need to... No!
Time for you to join the church, brother.
No! Get off me! Stop! Stop!
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, you think you can lift the lockdown?
I'm about to find out.
Enter and be judged. So it seems like we've got some really crazy unitologists. I don't know why we would have needed this other than possibly for the realization that maybe once again somebody might realize that they needed a upgrade on their health. See, I'm going to stick with this suit, and our inventory is fine. I suspect that even if I had changed back to the other suits, that I still probably would have this upgrade to the inventory, but maybe not. Which, that does imply, if that is the case, that if I went back to, say, the very first suit, let's see if we can do that. The EVA suit was the very first suit we had. Like, it would be a shame that you wouldn't be able to wear the cosmetic one you want just because of a physical limitation in inventory. That is a pretty big difference if you visually, like, this is Dead Space 3 is an action game, that was Dead Space 1 is a horror game. Nope, you still have your inventory at the same. So it is just cosmetic once you choose whatever you want. There is an interesting question how these suits actually get put on you. Like, are they literally welded onto you? Is that the idea? I guess maybe it is. And that's why you need the whole machine. We haven't seen one of these elevators in a while. Okay, we can't go to 3, so we, I guess, are going to 2. Because of the lockdown, which is the first instance of the lockdown. It's really late to the party in the DLC to be adding that concept when there could have been lockdowns plenty of times before. Meanwhile, we can just, I guess, see if we're going to find more scavenger stuff. And it seems like we'll just be fighting unitologist crazy things. Which the whole church and unitologist cult concept in the first game and the second game were pretty decent sequences. It's kind of crazy that they decided to not really expand on that more. +3 reload, +3 rate of fire. That might be new. This is... They seem fairly tough, those guys. And seemingly they've just mutilated themselves, scarred themselves up, taped knives to their hands. They don't seem like they really are necromorphs or anything like that, though. Which, that's different and probably something that should have been introduced way earlier in the game. This is definitely a problem with almost all DLCs, that there's this concept of content that definitely would have been better in either a sequel or in the original game itself, instead of being this side thing that a smaller percentage of players will never see. Pause. I guess I should say pause now if you want to read this. Pause now if you want to read the rest of this. The only thing I could think that might happen here is we might turn the lights on, and I guess the question is coming down to, are the necromorphs that we've been seeing real is that the remnants of Necromorphs, or are the other moons capable of sending out marker signals to make new?
Carver, I'm heading to the tram. I should have the shock point drive soon.
Good. I'm not far from the reactor. I'm gonna go see what shape it's in.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like this is going to be much gameplay, really. Unless they decide to take us back to Earth where the game started, and then we're fighting a whole bunch of Necromorphs in Earth.
Lead us, Isaac.
You alright?
Voices in my head. They want me to lead them.
Well, don't listen to them. We need to get home.
What if that's what they want us to do?
Isaac, when people hear voices in their head, it means they're going crazy. You are going crazy, alright? Now get the fucking shock point drive. Shit.
Yeah, it definitely feels like if Isaac goes to Earth, we end up sending the moons directly to Earth. Isaac planned to die after fighting the moon anyways. Isaac should kill himself. Although the question really comes down to, is Carver also infected and marked by the moon? Here we have a much better placement of a model of a character. Let's go. So it's a new church, apparently. Pause now if you want to read this. Pause now if you want to read this. So these definitely feel like Necromorphs at this point. Necromorphs that were killed and then put up on display and worshipped, which kind of seems counterproductive. Am I ever going to need to really hit these guys, or are these always going to be decorations? I wouldn't be surprised if these are just decorations. I also wouldn't be surprised if these were hallucinations, or just really visually artistic ways to block off paths. Of course, that gets right back to the same problem, that this whole game is incredibly linear. Oh, I can't kill these guys. Interesting. And I wonder if that means that these are just straight up hallucinations. So they are cutting off their hands, they're putting on these fake claws, knives, they're blinding themselves.
Now, my brother, you too will become one of us, a true believer.
This certainly is something at some point, that if Isaac was transitioning between this hell nightmare and or a different reality, like a BioShock Infinite area.
Isaac, what happened?
I don't know. I thought they were here, but...
Okay, we gotta get out of here before you turn into a basket case. Can you reach the conning tower?
Yeah. I can use the tram to reach the mid station. I should be there soon.
Yeah, there's some real question there as to what you could pull off and have an interesting story where you might have a Bioshock Infinite type experience, and there might be one reality where the worshippers of Unitology were just these crazy people who were mutilating themselves and necromorphs don't really exist, and then there's a universe where necromorphs totally do exist, and or it's all just different hallucinations that Isaac is having all over the place. It really feels like I could have died there in that sequence, and since there really aren't a lot of those sequences or encounters, then I guess we're going to the mid station this time.
They are coming, my brothers. They are coming and they are hungry. Is your soul prepared to feed them? Or will you be judged unworthy and cast aside? Join me as we build a new church together. Not of brick and mortar, but of flesh and blood. Join me in a tribute so glorious that the heavens themselves will take notice. They are coming, my brothers, and we will be ready.
And see, this I think is the same ship we've been to, so this would have been where the optional mission was.
Now arrive.
Brothers and sisters, the age of man is at an end.
Let me ask
We have
this
become
question.
Too many, too little to go.
Is there an optional mission in this? No.
Round.
So I think
That we once trusted with our money have squandered it. The governments that we once trusted
we're
with our
now
future
going to
sabotaged.
they're now saying Danik was a saint and savior,
We are dying.
and I guess this is just the game, and these necromorphs
As promised,
are getting turned into statues and worshipped.
the Black Marker has a plan for all of you to lift us up from our
And we'll
body and unite it.
take the stasis support, Mark II stasis support. Well, let's see what that does. Probably nothing of interest.
Church of Unitology is waiting for you, my friends. Throw off the chain.
+3 reload, +3 rate of fire. Scavenger bot's gonna give us some more tungsten. I think we finally figured out that the ration seals are totally useless. +2 damage rate of fire versus +3 reload rate of fire.
We have become too many, too little to go around. Corporations we once trusted
Otherwise,
money have squandered. Governments that
I guess the only thing we would want is +3 rate of fire, +3 damage, and I don't think
their eternal credit we are done.
we have something like that.
Fear not. There is a future. As promised by the prophet Michael Walton.
3 reload, 3 damage, 3 reload, and 3 damage. 3 reload, 2 damage. So I could see. Try and craft 3 reload, 3 damage. That's slightly better. And 3 reload rate of fire. And you can definitely put that there. I don't think it really changes too much.
And join us as the new one begins.
Hmm.
I'm Jacob Arthur Danik, and I am this message. Brothers and sisters, the age of
Yeah, and I don't have enough tungsten to make that third upgrade. And that third upgrade's not really doing much. Even with 3 damage, 3 damage, and 3 damage though, the gun I have is just not good enough to do damage. The only thing I could think of maybe doing to fix that is if I was to, say, sell one of those first of all. If I put the directed suspension field on it instead, that slows down the gun slightly, but then increases the damage significantly. We could try that, certainly. And then stasis, Mark II stasis support is something that you can't even sell. We could sell that for 100 tungsten. So if there was a Mark II damage that we could make, which I guess at some point that might be something we find, then we might consider using that. And let's see, do we have a tungsten torque bar? Yes, we do. Do we have everything else? Yes, we do. We never get a point where we can hold more bullets. I don't like that gun because you have to kind of tap it to shoot in bursts as a semi-auto, where I would prefer to have an auto. So this would be maybe something worth trying. Directed suspension field Mark II. There, I just got an achievement called Just the Tip for changing, I guess, just the tip of the gun. Nope, I don't like that gun either. I want a full automatic. Rail accelerator. Like there's definitely some small points of sexism here. Yeah, that's what I want. When you have dirty jokes like that, and when you have Ellie completely forgotten about as a character.
I see you approaching. Don't be afraid. All are welcome to be a part of our church. But what part will you give? An ear that you may hear their message? A tongue that you may spread their word? Or a head that you may understand their divine wisdom?
That's funny. Definitely feels like this thing is alive. You can hear it like breathing. Never did see why these H's look like K's. I guess it's supposed to say H and it's just poorly animated because of the scratches on it. I cannot get that. Well, whatever. That probably doesn't matter. So, yeah, it doesn't say Kuman. It's supposed to say human. It's just got scrapes all over it. it doesn't seem like the Necromorphs would allow themselves to be fed and be pets of a church. That notice how they have this like whole shield around them. What we might be seeing here is what Necromorphs see. Interesting. That's the first time I've ever been stasised by anything. Let's bring up our other gun.
The time of ascension is at hand. Prepare yourselves the way that you may be found. We prepare. We purge the sins of our bodies, and we lift up our voices to them, that we may be found.
What do you want from me?
Hey, Isaac, take it easy.
Are we doing the right thing, Carver? Huh? Are we?
Don't let them into your head, man. Now look, I found the reactor. It's all rigged up. We just need the shock point drive. Can you get it?
Yeah, I can get
Then
it.
do that.
Yeah. Seems like next room will be the room we'll want to put the scavenger bot in. Meanwhile, I got several different items. Just kind of refill everything. That could definitely be an interesting boss fight. Something that Danik could have been. Certainly. I kind of expected Danik to turn into some kind of crazy stasis necromorphic combination character. Something very special and unique, and it doesn't seem like that's really that's not what happened. He just kind of died pathetically. Of course, none of these are text logs, and I kind of wish they had spent a little bit more money to just have more lines of dialogue voiced. Pause now if you want to read this. Pause now if you want to read the rest of it. Because there could be somewhat of a decent story going on through the text sections, and then just not willing to read it. Part of the problem there certainly is the fact that the game, up until the DLC, did establish itself more as an action game. So I was even more so encouraged to not want to read the text logs. I just played too many games really to want to read text logs in games. There are definitely players that do enjoy that kind of thing, but it's not, I don't think, even 50% of players. It's very telling, but also it would be very logical that Isaac is going through areas he's already seen, because that saves you in creating new areas. This would be very annoying if this was another one of those optional areas where there was just no variety in it. The Scarf underground facilities, they've painted in blood necromorph shapes over the human remains. I suppose there is a small percentage of players that wouldn't have bothered to have done the optional section, the optional content, and for those people this might be new content. Let's see. The game definitely seems like it's trying to rush you to the end. So it could be throwing necromorphs all over the place. Although it's really questionable actually if there are any necromorphs whatsoever on this planet. And see, remember this was the whole area where you had to turn off the grav plating first, and seems like there's none of that now. Seems like we can just straight up go that way. Which it definitely feels like this is a different area. Still no. Are we waiting for... It'd be another 5 minutes before the bot showed up. Every time you see one of these suit kiosks, you should check it out just to see if that would unlock a new thing. +3 reload clip. Yeah, I don't think there's anything I want to change. And we'll... For now, with this DLC ending up with so much health that it's getting a little crazy. I wonder if maybe this is the full... Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Nope, you can hold more. And yeah, this puts me in a weird position because we're at 53 minutes, and from the looks of it, there may be a weapon part I missed. Or maybe you have to play this DLC in co-op too, and that's the weapon part you can't get. But overall, it seems like we're probably going to walk through that door and maybe have a boss fight, maybe not. And then this third chapter might be in a completely different area. Maybe back on Earth. But yeah, I think this is the right point to end this recording. Yeah, we don't have any more logs in... Yeah. Yeah, I don't... I think this is the best point to stop, because it'll probably be another 10-15 minutes otherwise, if not longer. So at this rate, it does feel like this DLC is just going to give you 3 more hours of DLC. It is much more horror based, and I could almost see the logic in what they're trying to do here. Have the horror elements be a DLC element. That way more fans would play the action and not worry about the game being that scary. The problem with that, though, is the name of the game is Dead Space. There's always going to be a percentage of players, if they don't want to play a horror first-person shooter, that would never buy the argument that Dead Space 3, the third in the series, is actually just an action first-person shooter, and you're just shooting zombie-like creatures. So true horror or really scary content being hidden behind DLC doesn't really help the impression that the first 2 games have already established of the series being a actually scary, or at least fairly scary, first-person shooter. So ideally what you would have wanted to see is all these concepts and all these scenes that we're seeing in the DLC finding a way to show up in the main game as either hallucinations that Isaac is having, or just as flash forwards even. This content could have definitely changed the feeling that I had throughout the main game. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.